Horror games are already terrifying experiences for players to work through. However, some games create an atmosphere that is even spookier than the jump scares found within them. This is the effect of feeling isolated or alone. Players usually don't encounter other living people in these horror games and are expected to survive all by themselves with little to no assistance. In these games, sometimes the quote-unquote main monster isn't entirely present, making players become paranoid at each and every sound around them, or maybe it's not even clear what the monster really is. Hey there everyone, Jeffrey here, welcome to Game Rant. The following titles have been known to make players feel the most isolated, creating a brilliant yet ominous horror experience for players to enjoy in between their screams. So let's dive into this spooky list. Number 8, Song of Horror. Survival horror games are considered some of the most isolating horror experiences in gaming due to them challenging the player to stay alive with little to no assistance. Song of Horror was not only a horror game with a brilliant story, but also one that was sure to make the player feel very alone while playing. Players can choose from various characters to use in each episode to adventure through a location that has randomly generated scares for each run, to make not one experience feel the same. With only themselves to solve the puzzles needed to complete the levels, the low lighting and supernatural occurrences are sure to make a player feel that they are all by themselves while trying to defeat the impossible. Number 7, Don't Starve. While some players may consider Don't Starve to be predominantly a survival title, this game, with its incredible art style, is also a horror experience without a doubt, especially when night arrives. Things definitely get creepy then. Those who are great at managing their sanity, hunger, and health are arguably in for an easier time with Don't Starve, though allowing that sanity bar to lower will cause all sorts of strange things to occur. In the original Don't Starve, players were forced to survive by themselves with no other person to talk to. This feeling of being alone is only made worse by standing by the campfire during the night, when the only thing that surrounds the player outside this light is danger, as running into the darkness is surely the fastest way to die. Number 6, Killer Frequency. Although commonly survival horror games are seen as the most isolating of horror experiences, other horror titles have also been able to have players on the edge while also feeling as if they are forced to figure it out all by themselves. One great example of this is the first-person horror experience in Killer Frequency. The player takes on the role of a late-night radio show host who has been tasked with helping their callers survive against a killer who has been stalking people who have called in. While the player may be the one on the phone to these various people, they will find themselves very much alone in the radio studio, where they will have to not only help these callers with their puzzle-like problems of survival, but also manage the whole radio show as well. Number 5, Alien Isolation. As the word isolation can obviously be read in this game's title from the Alien franchise, it's really no surprise to see Alien Isolation as one of the most isolating horror games a player can enjoy. Players take on the role of Amanda, the daughter of Ellen Ripley from the Alien films. Now, she has gone on a mission to uncover what happened to her mother, who happened to disappear 15 years ago during the events of the Alien movie. As the player is not prepared for the xenomorph threats they are likely to encounter during this mission, they must hide, alone, to avoid becoming the creature's next meal. What should be a bustling trading station is instead an alien nightmare, as the only human-shaped things that remain are the androids that are also out to get the player. Good times had by all. Number 4, Darkwood. Darkwood combines two of the most isolating things in a horror setting, namely the dark and creepy forests. Players find themselves trapped within a thick forest where they must quickly find a place to call shelter and keep the light burning within when night arrives. While huddled within their base, they'll likely hear frightening sounds from outside that are attempting to get inside their shelter, though it's best for the player to just keep quiet and defend their home if the monsters get too close. With a muted color palette for the things that the player can't see in their line of sight, the world really feels cold and ominous. Anything could sneak up on them, even with various merchants to visit or people to help. These folks don't seem right, making the player feel as if they are different to others in this world and therefore totally alone. Number 3, Soma. Created by the developers behind Amnesia: The Dark Descent, it's really of no surprise to see the psychological horror of Soma make an appearance here. Players are left to explore an underwater facility that has gradually fallen into ruin. As the game itself describes it, the radios have died, the food is running out, and for some reason the robots that worked in the underwater facility of Soma are starting to think they are human. Players must uncover the truth about the facility and search through documents and locked terminals to find out where the last surviving inhabitant of the facility could actually be, as well as discovering things about the player character themselves. Number 2, Iron Lung. As seen thus far, not every isolating horror game has to be created by a large company of developers. Some of the best games are those created by a single person, such as Iron Lung, which was developed by David Szymanski. In this title, players are confined to a rusting metal submarine as it wades through an ocean of blood on a mysterious alien moon. The game does a great job of creating suspense as players are tasked with making it to various locations on a grid and taking pictures of what's outside their submarine. The entire time, players are unable to see outside the submarine unless they take these pictures. Being confined to such a small space has been known to make players feel alone, with only the eerie noises of the blood ocean to keep them company. And number 1, Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 is not only one of the greatest sci-fi horror experiences of all time, but also a brilliant game for any player looking for a horror title that makes them feel very alone. The game starts off strong with the player waking up from a coma 3 years after the last necromorph infestation, which caused the horrifying monsters the player faced in the first game. Now, they must face them again, this time on a space station orbiting Saturn's moon, Titan, and uncovering the truth. While Dead Space 2 does have some other human characters for the player to meet along their journey through the space station, the vast majority of the game sees the infamous protagonist Isaac Clarke exploring by his lonesome, with only the hallucinations of his dead girlfriend to keep him company. And there we have it, everyone, a delightfully spooky bunch of horror games that really lean into the isolating atmosphere. Thank you so much for watching this video from Game Rant. Be sure to check out all sorts of other top-notch gaming content, including more lists, news, reviews, guides, originals, and so much more right here on Game Rant. Have a truly wonderful and happy day, everyone. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.